Welcome back, y'all, and happy Monday. This is the Bluechip Breakdown, and I'm your host, Bull. Excuse me. Sorry for the late start today, just because we had so many things kind of rolling in here late that we will be touching on today. So for me, man, this is crunch time. I hope that everyone had a great weekend with Easter and everything. I hope that everything went very, very well for you, because I feel like it's time for all of us as fans, obviously everyone that's on staff, everybody. We have to be all in, because this is what's going to make or break our 2025 season, just as far as our football team goes. We have a lot of things that we got to go out there and target and kind of close out on, especially quarterbacks. So we're going to talk about all the rumors and things like that. Please do make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And we're going to start off right here with some big news for Tennessee's basketball team. Okay, so number one, yesterday we just got 5-star Nate Ament. Okay, 6'9", 200 and or like 185, 190 pound. He's going to be an upcoming freshman. Now he can play wing. That's what I have him as. I have him as a small forward, but he can also play 4. He can play 2. I mean, just can do it all, right? So I'll pull his highlights back up here very briefly, just for anyone who hasn't quite seen him yet. But yeah, I mean, inside, outside guy. And, I think we should get some really good spacing just based off of him. The one thing that Tennessee is going to need to go out there and add is a shooting guard. We might need 2 more shooting guards. We've got a young guy coming up in this same class, Evans, who I think could do some nice things. He's got good size, 6'5". We'll go back to that. We'll take a look at it in just a second. But really, man, that's all that this team is missing. I think that the front court looks perfectly fine. We just need to go out and get some more guys who can shoot. Now, I was hoping that Tennessee could have got Nate and then also Freeman, but Freeman's going to Auburn. So that kind of puts a damper in my whole plans. But either way, man, I think that the roster is definitely shaping up very well. So let me pull this back up. All right, we're going to pull this back up with Tennessee's roster. And if y'all can't see any of this stuff, if it's not showing up, please let me know. We're also going to take a quick break just because I know I got in here late. I'm going to get to some of these chats. This right here from Chad saying GBO, you already know. From David saying that if he had his wish list of our QB, it would have been Sawyer Robertson, because he runs almost the same offense as Heupel does at Baylor and Mississippi State. Yeah, I think that he would be a very good one. Michael is saying biggest thing is that we need a bridge to next year. We should want a contest between Merck, Mac, and Faison. Yeah, so that one's pretty interesting, because I've asked that question to everyone on this channel. Will you be okay if this year is like we're going to take a step back year, maybe even several steps back, because it could end up being that. So, I don't know if the fans will be able to rest. You know what I'm saying? So I think that you kind of have to go all in for this upcoming season. I guess as much as you possibly can, and also saying in the hope that Mark doesn't leave due to transfers coming in. Yeah, that's the other part of it, man. Shoot, we got to hope for the best right there. I have no idea. David Speaks is saying that Sawyer Robertson would have 2 years of eligibility if he came to us. Yeah, I want one and done guys for the reason that that Michael just kind of pointed out. You don't want to lose any of the future quarterbacks. You want to hold on to those guys. Okay. So let me see who else we got. All right, so we're going to keep it rolling with this show. We're going to try to get through this portion, but y'all can see how the roster looks. Like I said, the front court looks good. We've got some guys that can definitely play there, with really good size and things like that. We've got some point guards. Bishop Boswell, is he going to pick up with his scoring? Because if he can get his scoring going, obviously he can play 2 for you. But I think that him and Evans right now, that's our 2, those are our possible 2s. These are the only targets that I know that Tennessee's kind of still after. Rodney Rice, who played at Maryland with our incoming point guard, he has good size. I think that he'd be great, but it sounded like he was going to be picking Tennessee after his visit, but now we don't know what's going to happen. We talked about it that Tennessee's not one of the higher bidders. So maybe he wants some more money. I don't know how much money Nate took, but it must have been a ton, because I felt like, look, we got Nate coming in. We got Freeman coming in. Freeman's off the board. So you might be able to give a little bit more to a Rodney Rice, and you might have to do it. I just think that it's so important to have a good starting 5, and then you can go out and get some depth pieces after that. And we're also going to be bringing up Duke Miles, okay, 6'2", 188-pound guard. He played at Oklahoma last season. He has some good looking numbers and things like that. We'll probably talk more about that in a different video, but I just kind of wanted to touch on where the team is at this point. So let's keep it rolling, man. Let's see, what do we have next? So this right here, these are all the quarterbacks, okay? These are all the quarterbacks that P and I had talked about before. It's not everybody, actually. This is just our first little, this is like our first group. So we will talk more about quarterbacks, but before we get to the quarterbacks, I want to point out a couple I want to point out a wide receiver. Okay. Actually, you know what? We're going to start right here at safety. So this is AJ Halsey. All right. He played at Houston last season, listed at 6 feet tall, 215 pounds. I love his film. We know that Tennessee might need a safety. I have no idea if the staff feels that same way, but he's a guy that I feel like he's coming in, he's starting. I mean, there's no question. I don't know who he's going to start for. Probably it's going to be him and Turntine. One of the issues is he's wearing number 2. Turntine also wears number 2. I know that might sound silly to some people, but that's a huge deal to these kids. So that could be a little bit of an issue. But just watching his game, and kind of like the limited clips that I have seen, I haven't gone super deep into his film. I feel like with safeties, you got to watch him you got to watch almost like a full game, maybe a couple full games. I haven't done that quite yet. I've looked at some of his, best plays, maybe some of his worst plays, just to try to get a gauge of where he's at from top to bottom. But from what you're seeing here, this is a guy looks really good playing in coverage. Especially if it's zone. He's to me, kind of like more of a box safety. Does a good job coming down, filling. I've seen him taking on offensive linemen, and y'all will see that as we kind of go through this, taking on offensive linemen, doing a good job there, scraping, almost like a linebacker. You need these types of players. I just don't know, is he going to be a true, like man-to-man, come up at the line of scrimmage and play like that, play man coverage, that type of a way? Probably not going to be that sort of a guy. But really, I mean, even here, you can tell he's got a lot of savviness to his game. I mean, for me, man, like he looks like an NFL. I'm not saying with the caliber of his play, but with kind of like the way that he's playing. There you could see him in some man coverage. But what I mean here, y'all, is whenever you look at NFL safeties, especially like veterans or just veteran safeties, period, you see them going after the football. That's what he's doing here. He's able to, if it's a bigger tight end, just like on their previous play, he's able to still get that ball out. And I think he's a guy kind of like a Peanut Tillman. That's going way back to the Bears. But punching the football out, I think that he'll get you some turnovers. I think that he's a big play guy on defense. That's probably something that Tennessee really needs. Like, I think that we need as many big play types of players as we could possibly get if we don't want to take a big step back in 2025. And again, I'm not saying that the roster isn't good. I think that the roster is good with the starting. Like, that 2 deep is really good. Where Tennessee's not on par with some of the upper teams or, some of the higher level teams in the SEC or Big Ten, maybe even ACC, like Clemson. Clemson's going to be pretty good this season, is with that 3 deep, that 4 deep. So our starting guys should be fine. But either way, this is a guy, haven't heard that Tennessee's actually targeting him, but I'm hoping that at some point this week, man, just because we can't be playing games, it's time to go on ahead and start targeting folks. He's probably going to ask for a whole lot of money, but we need to make that work. So next player, okay, this is a wide receiver, Trayshawn Hurry. Love his size, 6'2", almost 200 pounds. Like we said, for Tennessee, that 6 foot to 6'2" range, that's what they should be targeting, because these are guys who can be versatile. They can play inside or outside. I love Trayshawn's game, man. I mean, he's coming from a smaller school, but either way, you can just tell he's got the speed. He's got really good hands, tracks the football very well, and he's tough. He can make you miss after the catch and things like that. So his offense, really, a lot of the routes that we're seeing here, similar to what Tennessee does. So at least what Tennessee did last season. We're hoping that, hoping it's going to be a little bit better for the wide receivers and quarterbacks and the whole offense moving forward in 2025. But I absolutely love it. He is a guy that Tennessee's offered. Not quite sure if he's going to come up on a visit or anything like that. I haven't heard that just yet, but I am anticipating that hopefully he would do it. So, could we add him? Maybe one more wide receiver? That would be huge for me. These are the types of guys that you want to go out and get and bring into this room. Like I said, with the versatility, that's going to add a whole lot of depth. So love him. I was very, I love his film. So while that's still rolling, I'm going to try to get to some more of these chats real quick just to try to stay ahead. Did I miss anything? Okay, so y'all are kind of, I'm going to get this one right here from David saying that Nate Ament's NBA comp is Kevin Durant bull. That's insane. Yeah, so it's funny because we know that, we know that Coach Barnes really liked him. And obviously he did coach KD. So maybe he saw some of those similarities. For me, I wouldn't say that he's a KD. I mean, I don't see that from him personally, but I don't know that Rick Barnes necessarily sees that. I think that he just sees a kid that's probably like his own player that can get things done in a little bit of a different way. I mean, shoot, KD was he still is just ridiculous for him to be that tall. He was listed at 6'9" in college, but he probably was taller because he's like 7 foot 7'1" now. He doesn't want to be listed as a 7-footer. But either way, I'm just saying KD taller, longer, one of the best scorers in basketball history. So I'm not going to necessarily put Nate on that level yet, but maybe he could grow into it. Either way, I know he's a very, very good basketball player. All right, so now I want to get back to this right here. I want to come back to these quarterbacks because there's a couple things that I want to talk about right here. So this was the first list that I talked about that P and I had kind of put out, right? This is who we're thinking, hey, we got to go to the portal. We have to tamper. We put Nico up at the top just to show you, what it looks like, versus Nico, right? So obviously most of these guys aren't going to be very realistic, okay? Up at the top, though, we do have Luke Altmire. So that's the first player that we're going to talk about. It sounded like at first maybe there was no chance. Okay. That's what it sounded like. Now I don't know. It feels like there is some smoke. Sounds like there is some smoke. Okay. And this is not coming from insiders. This is just there's a lot of rumblings out there. I think that's how I'll say it. Whole lot of rumblings with him. So what do I think about his game and would he enter into the portal? Number one, whenever you're talking about Tennessee at this point, trying to go out and get a quarterback that is already proven, right? He's on a team that everything's already working for him, right? Like they've got everything kind of set up. It'll be tough, especially for some of these older guys. It's going to be one and done. It's going to be very tough to entice them to hit the transfer portal, to come and take that 3.5 months to learn Tennessee system, especially if it's totally different from what they're running. Tennessee system is going to be different from what Luke is running. Now, they do run tempo, but their stuff it's a lot more pro style. It's not going to be, there will be some similarities, but just not as much. So, we're going to have to probably offer these guys. I'm thinking that the floor at this point might be about $4.5 million, realistically speaking. Like it might take maybe $4 million. It might take $4 million for us to go out and really entice some of these starting caliber guys. Now, for me, Luke is a player that would probably come in and start. I think, there would be some competition. I don't think there's going to be very much, though. So he's got a pretty strong arm. I think that he's got the arm that he can run our offensive system the way that we ran it last season, where you needed that really strong arm to be able to run it. But he could also do it with how we think it's going to look this season, where, like we said, it's a lot more, user-friendly with some shorter routes, some easier to throw, some easier to get open routes, some better route combinations, where you've got some very obvious openings. You can tell, hey, this is what the route combination is based off what the defense is showing me. I know that this this route is going to be open. So I'm hoping that that's what Tennessee does a little bit more of. It's not typical that you see that with this offensive scheme, at least not with the base. But we will talk about a player here in just a minute. And as y'all looking at his offensive plays, you'll see the difference in how they're running the same offense that Coach Heupel's running, versus how some other teams are also doing it. I think that Coach Heupel, he's still running it more like the old school, kind of like Baylor version of it. So we had to kind of get that updated. Again, I think that's coming. But I think that, he looks good just as far as a pocket passer. His numbers really weren't great last season. About 2,700 yards, so very similar to what Nico had. I think he had 22 touchdowns or something like that. He's not a very mobile guy. Now, he can run, but it's not a real threat with his legs. Does Tennessee absolutely have to have a quarterback that can run? I mean, you have to be able to run some, but you don't have to be, someone that's, I guess it's like a really serious threat. It might actually work better for Tennessee this year. Again, if we're going to switch up the offensive system or the offensive play calling some more, it might be a little bit better if we have a guy that's more of kind of like a game manager that's going to be, relatively accurate and things like that, which that's what I think Luke is. So I feel pretty confident with this one. Again, I don't know. This one might be, this is going to be one of the less probable guys. So I'm going to come back to this. All right. And we're going to talk about several quarterbacks because I know that's what everyone's focused on. We all should be focused on it because, like I said, it is crunch time. So come all the way down to the bottom. The other player that I want to talk about is Josh Hoover. So Josh Hoover actually, he runs Tennessee's offense at his school. So his offensive coordinator is Kendall Browse. Okay, that's Art Browse's son. So, they're running the exact same offense, but they call the plays differently. So he had a great season. I mean, just look at those numbers. You can tell all that stuff looks really, really good. Now, what the rumor is that Tennessee offered him like $1 million more than what he's making right now, and he turned it down. So maybe he's one of those guys that, he just got that pay raise off of Tennessee. Again, had a really good season, so he probably wouldn't want to move. But I still think that if you come out and for a guy like this, if you want to go and get him, I'm thinking it might take about $5 million. For him to really start to entertain it. Now, we heard that the boosters were going to be spiteful about Nico. They didn't want for Nico to end up in a better situation than Tennessee's in. So if they're going to spend money out of spite, okay, if millions of dollars is spite money to these people, then go ahead and drop us 6 to 7. I know that I'm not saying that these players are going to be worth it by any means, but you got to ask yourself, do you want to have a winning, do you want to really have a shot? I'm not going to say a winning season, but do you want to have a real shot where you're not having to worry about it too much? This is the guy that if we could get him, it's not going to be that much of a learning curve. It's the same offense, just running plays a little bit differently here. And you might not be able to tell with all of them, but for people who kind of understand what it looks like, just because I don't have the play art up here and all that, you can tell you're seeing some crossing routes, you're seeing some drags. Tennessee rarely ever did that last season. It was very, very vertical, which is why his numbers looked as good as they did. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to mix things up. So again, I don't think that this one's very realistic, but I would say that, hey, he would probably maybe be our best option. He's not a mobile guy. Okay, like those first couple of clips of this, you're seeing him running. He's not a real runner. He's just like any other quarterback if things break down totally. And if there's a huge opening, yeah, he can get you 5 or 6 yards, but he ain't no real threat. So that's not going to open up any extra running lanes off of the RPO, off of the read options, or any of that, right? Like, no one's going to, especially not in the SEC, no one's going to say, oh my gosh, we're terrified of Tennessee's quarterback's legs. They're just not going to say. But I think that he has really good touch. I think that he has really good accuracy. I've said before, I don't think that his arm is the strongest, but if he could operate the offense this year, right, I think that he could do that. He doesn't have some like really weak arm either. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I would like to see if this one could maybe end up playing out at some point in Tennessee's favor. But we should be hearing something at some point today. Let me get to P. What's going on, bro? So P's saying that he's just tuning in. Not sure if you saw that UCLA's quarterback just entered the portal. Yes, I did. So that's actually what I was looking at whenever I was coming in. I saw that like just happen. So we will get to him. Okay, we're gonna talk about it. All right, so let me see what else my brother P is saying. He's saying that he watched him versus Clemson, makes quick reads, and his accuracy, but his accuracy is inconsistent. Yeah, 1,000,000%. You already know P's on point with all his breakdowns. So all right, so let's bring it back. So those are the two from this portion of it. Like I said, I think that Luke Altmire, it might be some real smoke there. I think that he's probably, out of the two that we just talked about on this portion, he's probably the more realistic option. And I think that if we're going to spend that type of money, then he could most definitely get it done. So let me see. All right. So let me see. You know what? I think that I might have. Okay, here we go. Right here. This is what I was looking for, y'all. So these, I think, at this point, is probably Tennessee's 3 most realistic quarterback options. All right. So P, we just talked about Joey, right? Because Nico's coming to his school. We already knew that he was going to hit the portal. We're going to talk about him. And then the other one is going to be Steve Angeli from Notre Dame. And then we have, Byron Brown from South Florida. To me, I think that those are probably our 3 most realistic options. Okay. So let me go ahead and pull up first. We're going to pull up Steve Angeli. All right. I want to pull him up first and foremost if I can find him. I know I got him in here. Okay, here he is. All right. So we're going to go ahead and pull him up and let y'all see how he looks if y'all haven't seen it just yet. So this, the stats that we just looked at, that was from 2024. His 2023 season, it was slightly better, I think, as opposed to 268 in 2024. He had like 500-something yards. I think he had some more touchdowns and things like that. He also threw one interception. But, for me, looking at him, I'm looking at a guy that, prototype backup. Excuse me, y'all. He's a prototype backup. I think that he would come in. I really don't honestly see him challenging Merck. He might maybe challenge GMAC just because GMAC is a freshman. But they also had the head start with this offense. Notre Dame does not run anything near Tennessee's offense. Okay, they do a couple things that might look similar, but he's gonna. I don't think it's gonna take him forever to figure out this system. But he's gonna be behind the learning curve. And then, he's also, I don't think that he's as talented. I'm just going to keep it real. He's not a very mobile guy. I think that the guys that we already got, they're way more mobile than what he is. I think they have a lot more arm talent. He's a guy that I've said this too. I think that he's just gassing more. If this is where we get to where we want to bring in Steve, then hey, listen, go out and get Gaston more. I've heard some things. I don't know how true this is, but I've heard some things that maybe Gaston is done playing ball. He wants to, get into the workforce. Well, okay. Well, why don't you wait one more year? Like, what are you rushing to go, make? And hopefully he is making good money. I have no idea, but Tennessee can give him a nice salary where it could be worth it for him. And I would also say, hey, look, just to sweeten it up, we're gonna guarantee you a spot on this staff somewhere next season. Just because we know that what the heck's going on, and That's what I would do. I just think that's a much better option and just kind of roll with what you already got, as opposed to going out and adding a player like this, who I just don't. I know he's visiting Syracuse. I saw that too. I think that the simple fact that Tennessee wasn't the first school that he's visiting, I think that says a lot about how the staff feels, about him too. It should also give us some hope that Tennessee has somebody else in mind for who Tennessee might go out and target. But I just don't. This is not one that would move the needle for me by any means. So let me try to get to some more of these chats. I apologize if I skipped anything. So this one right here is from Smokey, and Smokey is saying, go get the BYU wide receiver. Okay, yeah. So we talked about him yesterday. Love his game. I think he's definitely one that I would love to add. Papa T's going on, bro, saying that Bull Tennessee is about winning football games on Saturdays now. 100% bringing the best quarterback for our program, and let's go. We can't be scared to make the team better due to potential players. Yeah. Due to future players. Yeah, I think that's 100% spot on. You know what I mean? I think that maybe early on in this process, people weren't really thinking that way, but now that things are kind of starting to set in, right? We can look at it and we can say, okay, yeah, we really don't want to go, especially for me. I don't want to lose to Georgia in daggum Knoxville for the 9th time in a row. That's my nightmare, y'all. That's been my nightmare for a long time. I don't ever want to see that happen. So yeah, I'm all in. Hopefully the people with the big pocket, with those deep pockets, they hear us as fans saying, hey, we don't want to lose this season. And I'm not throwing shots at our quarterbacks. I'm not throwing shots at our team. But we know that those guys, those quarterbacks, they didn't come in this season expecting to play. They expected to have one more year. So why not go out and get that veteran that kind of knows a little bit about Tennessee system, that can maybe operate it a little bit better, that have actually played on this level some, and give us a little bit better, of an opportunity. And you still have those guys if the other guys that we bring in don't pan out. You still have those, you still got Merck and you still got George. All right, so let me come back. Let me come back and we're gonna take a look at. This is my top 2. All right. This is who I would like, just given the circumstances, okay, that I feel like are the most realistic. This is my top 2. And since he is in the portal, we'll start off with Joey Aguilar. So talked about him some last season. And actually, I'm gonna bring this back up. I'm gonna bring this back up so that y'all can see something. These are their stats from 2023. Okay. So this right here, these are their stats from 2024. You can see that with Joey and also with Brown, their numbers went down in 2024. So for Brown, I know that he broke his leg at the end of September. So he only played in 5 games last season. So that's why his numbers look this way. But I'm not quite sure what happened with Joey. So looking at it now, look at these numbers in 2023. They both put up incredible numbers. Right, so Joey, he did play at App State, but almost 4,000 yards passing, 33 touchdowns, 10 picks. He's a gunslinger. P said it. I mean, he's going to throw you some daggum picks. He's going to force it into coverage some. But I think that based off of what you feel like Tennessee needs, we might not need this, right? Like we might not need a guy that's going to put us in poor situations with turnovers. We might need a guy that can manage games a little bit more. But if you feel like, hey, Tennessee really needs somebody who can make some plays, and yeah, I'm fine with taking a guy that's going to give us more touchdowns and maybe some more interceptions too. I'm fine with that, just because you kind of, in that situation, you need a guy that's not afraid to throw it into those tight windows, that's not afraid of those bigger moments. And that's my biggest thing, y'all, is that these quarterbacks, they're going to face some really critical moments where it's going to be on their backs, it's going to be on their shoulders to go into these hostile places and make some plays and help us win. And sometimes the right play is just a simple hitch. But those simple hitches, if you run it 5, 6, 15 times, over the course of a game, the team is sitting on it now. They've seen those looks. The players understand it. They've picked up on even more tendencies than what they saw in film studies. So there is something about that savviness, about being a veteran, about not being scared, about playing with confidence that I think that Joey definitely has. So there's some very positive things. But as I said, prior, the first time that we talked about him, we said, listen, it would be a really bad situation. And I guess that the situation is already bad. You just got to kind of take what you can get. But it's a bad situation for me. I think that just like from an optics point of view, that Tennessee loses their starting quarterback. However you want to look at that, lose him. He goes to a school, and then that guy, one of the quarterbacks there, Joey, who we're talking about, he's going to end up being that backup, and then we go and get that backup. So it's almost like us saying, hey, we're going out and getting a player that we know isn't as good as Nico, or maybe the staff might feel like he is as good as Nico. I doubt that that's true, but I just think that from a like the optics of that probably wouldn't look too good. But he did hit the portal, and we know that his team's been shopping him. You know what I'm saying? He can also move. He's got a very, very strong arm. I think that he can do some nice things. He might operate better inside of Tennessee's system. So we will see. I mean, like I said, I don't think the beggars can really be choosers. But what do y'all think about Joey? Just kind of seeing him with this version of the film, when you can really see how everything looks. Now, these are just highlights. This is not every single play, nothing like that. But you can get a pretty good understanding of how his throws look whenever he's making some big time throws. You can see how he looks moving inside of the pocket. I mean, yeah, dude, that's a very good looking throw right there. And this is a situation where I don't even think that, he played at App State. They played up against some lower competition, but this is not a situation where I'm looking at him and I'm saying, dude, I don't think that he could play on the big boy level. I think that he could play on this level. I'm just a little bit, I guess, gun shy about all those turnovers. So maybe that's what we want to do. So the next player, okay, next one is going to be Byron Brown. Look at his numbers. And again, this is from 2023. But look at those numbers. That looks really good. Now, he does. Obviously, Alex Golesh is his head coach. They run Tennessee's offense 100%. And it's going to be it's a more similar version of what Tennessee does, even though I think that the way that they run theirs is better than what Tennessee did last season. Really, I kind of hinted this, but I think that the way that Tennessee ran our offense last season, it's like it was the worst version of this offensive scheme. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could look at like Ole Miss. Ole Miss's scheme is very, very similar. I think that it looks better than what Tennessee does. I think that Mississippi State's look better than what Tennessee does. So we've got to catch up to what the times are. But either way, he should know all the verbiage and all that type of stuff. We talked about there was a Tennessee jet that was in Tampa. I think that was last week. Were they going down to Tampa, to South Florida, to see Byron Brown? I don't know. Like, I know for one thing for sure that Alex Golesh ain't just going to hand him over to Coach Heupel. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I know that he won't. He definitely wouldn't do that. Like, this is their starting quarterback. It's part of the reason that their season didn't maybe go as well as they wanted it to last year, because he got hurt. But he has great size. Him and Joey, they both have really, really good size, 6'3" and up. That's what Coach Heupel likes. 220 pounds and up. Brown is 225. Very strong arm. Okay, he's got the arm for this system 100%. I mean, you're going to see him throw some daggum bombs off his back foot with the flick of the wrist. That's what I'm looking for. Can you flick your wrist? And it's getting there now. He's one of those guys. The ball gets there now whenever he wants it to. Obviously, playing at South Florida, not to rag on those guys, but we all know that the difference in the level of competition that they have on their team is going to be drastically different from what Tennessee has. Our offensive line should be a lot better this season. If y'all noticed in those stats, he took a whole lot of sacks over the past couple of years. I don't think that he's going to have to do that coming up, this season, if he does come to Tennessee. Now, he's not in the transfer portal, but he had a really good game versus Alabama. This is from last year. Had a really good game versus those guys. So he can ball. Like, he can make it happen on this level, on the SEC level. I think that he's a major problem with his legs. He can throw on the run. He can throw from the pocket, all those types of things. So he might be, for me, again, he's not inside of the portal, but he might be the one that I would want the absolute most. I think he comes in, and maybe there's a little bit of hope for those other guys to still be able to start. But I just think that at the end of the day, he's going to end up winning out because he's an older player. He's probably in some ways maybe a little bit more talented, in some ways maybe not. Okay, if you're looking at both of those, if you're looking at Merck, I'd say he's definitely got a stronger arm than what Merck has. It might be stronger than what George has too. He's going to be a better runner and better athlete than both of those guys as well. He might not be. I think the GMAC might actually be kind of close, but either way, I really like what I'm seeing here. So I'm hoping that he's a guy that maybe Tennessee could get inside of the portal. You know what I'm saying? We only have until, what is it? I think it's until Thursday to get people into the portal. Okay. But we can still go out and get the players once they're in the portal all the way up, I guess until school starts, right? All the way up until the start of classes. Obviously, you will want to have them in for summer ball and all that type of stuff. So we still have a little bit of time, but I mean, we got to get these quarterbacks in. Every quarterback that hits the portal from this point forward, you got to start to wonder, is this Tennessee's guy? So Joey would be number one at this point because he's actually in the portal. Again, I think that he could do some pretty decent things, but this would be overall probably my number one guy. Actually, I'll even take it one step further. If we could go out and get like a Luke, okay, I would take Brown over Luke. I would. You know what I'm saying? If they're both inside of the portal, I would take Brown over him because he knows our system, less of a learning curve, much better athlete, much stronger arm. So we can do everything that we really want to do. We don't have to dumb down anything. We don't have to take away really anything. We can really just add to it. So that's where I'm at. Let me get to some more of these chats. Okay, so this one right here. Thank you for this, Preston. Thank you for bringing this to the channel, saying that this is what Nakos is saying. These are the teams to watch early on. He put Tennessee first, but they also said that they're just putting out any kind of like power forward player that hits the quarterback that hits the portal, they're going to put Tennessee in there. Obviously. All right, so they're saying that, I'm sure that he probably wouldn't leave TCU, but I'm just kind of throwing it out there, man, because we're going to have to make something happen. Like, we can't just sit on our hands. We have to be as aggressive as we possibly can. From GBO Cal B saying that Joey just announced, he said, okay, yeah, so we saw that. Thank you for it. Okay, so I think some of this stuff, y'all, is a little bit older, so I'm sorry about that. But from Rick is saying that what's the over-under on Vols fans hitting refresh on the On3 transfer portal page today? I'm up to about 12 so far. Yeah, I mean, I'm way past that, man. Those are some rookie numbers, dog. You got to get those numbers up. I've been on that page all day. I've been on it all night. I've been on it really all week. I probably hit it literally. It's probably been close to like 1,000 times. Like I ain't gonna hold y'all. That's how much I'm watching it. That's how serious this whole situation is. So I'm gonna get to some more of these. This one right here is from Super High Fire. It's saying that we would look up, if we traded quarterbacks with UCLA. Yeah, but at the same time, I think that we really are gonna have to swallow our pride. That's just what it is. Because see, we didn't do it in that Nico situation, and I hate to bring it back up. And I think that once it got to where it got to in spring, you couldn't really stop it. But whenever Nico first asked for that money, somebody should have paid him. Like that should have been a very real serious conversation. And I mean, coulda, woulda, shoulda. But I just feel like that's one that we're going to look back on. We're not going to be. Hopefully, we can overcome it. But I'm not happy about. I'm not happy about that whole situation. So from Mark is saying that keep what we've got, spend the money on other positions. Yeah. So I mean, maybe the guys that we have, maybe Merck and maybe GMAT, maybe they come out here, maybe they ball out. That would be great. And like I said, we can add. I think that we're probably, we could always add depth. It's just going to be tough to go out and get depth. That's the problem. You would have to overpay for anything at this point. Everything really, like you're going to be overpaying. So you might say, hey, we need to go out and get, I don't know, maybe we need to go get another strong side in. I'm just kind of throwing something out there to be like third or fourth string. You might be paying close to, $800,000-$900,000 for that. You know what I mean? So GBO Kyle Beach is saying that not if we win with Aguilar. Excuse me. All right. Saying he's not better than Nico. That's why he's leaving UCLA. Yeah, 100%. I mean, 100%. Yeah, he's definitely not. But really, I mean, nobody is going to be. Oh, wait a second. They're talking about James Pierce right now. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm watching ESPN, but obviously that draft is coming up too. I think it starts on Thursday. They're talking about James Pierce. Shoot, I don't understand. If he goes second round, that's another part that we haven't talked. Man, if James Pierce goes second round, Tennessee loses Nico. I mean, just there's so many things that I'm just hoping doesn't happen. But so anyway, though, yeah, I mean, there's no quarterback that's even out there that's going to be as talented as Nico. That's just, there's no question. Let me try to get through and get to some of these newer or get to some different people. From G Money 24 saying that what are the odds that Merck ends up being our starter this year? I say it's pretty high. I say it's, I would say that the odds that the starters are already on Tennessee's roster, I'm going to go at about 75%. That's where I'm at. I would love to know what y'all's thoughts are with that too. And actually, I want to bring up Tennessee's schedule. That's something else that I had meant to do. So just bear with me while I'm bringing this up. But I do want to take a look at where is that schedule at, y'all? I think that this might be it. Yeah, this is it. Okay. All right, so hopefully y'all can see this, right? So this is Tennessee's schedule. This is something I have wanted to talk about. So obviously we have Syracuse starting off. After that, we've got East Tennessee State. That should be a pretty easy game. Actually, let's just go through and talk about all the games we feel like Tennessee should win. Number one, this one. Tennessee should win this one. UAB should be able to win that one. Mississippi State, okay, it's in Starkville. Should be able to win it. The thing about it is Tennessee struggles for some reason with Mississippi State and with Arkansas, especially whenever we go there and play. So that's one. I mean, I feel like we should win. I'm gonna count that as a win, but you just got to watch it. So 1, 2, 3. New Mexico State, they were pretty bad last season, so that's 4. I'm just gonna go with 4 for sure. Looking at Syracuse, I think that we might have a pretty solid chance. UGA, that one's going to be really tough. We talked about that. But the whole thing here is like looking at this, the schedule really doesn't, starting off with Arkansas. So we get to host Arkansas. I think that they're going to be good. But so that one, and then we've got a pretty tough stretch. So the back half of Tennessee season is stronger, really, for I guess back-to-back games is going to be stronger from that point of view. Than the start of Tennessee season, but we really don't get too many breaks, really. You know what I mean? So maybe if we can get those first 2 wins, give these quarterbacks, whoever it is, give the whole team really, because we got a lot of young players, give them some confidence, and then hey, maybe it turns into a situation where we could be okay moving forward. So I definitely wanted to point that out. I just wanted to take a quick little glance at Tennessee's schedule. So I'm gonna pull. I'm gonna go back to Joey for y'all. All right, we're gonna go back to that because I know that some people might have missed that. We're gonna pull his clips back up, and I'm gonna get to some more of these chats. So this one is from Charles Tolston. Let me make it a little bit bigger, brother. So Charles is saying that Tennessee needs a game manager if the skilled players are here to and saying that the Buckeyes quarterback wasn't a big baller. He made plays when he needed. Yeah, so I understand your point with that. And people are making a whole lot of references to these teams that have loaded rosters. I think that Tennessee's roster is good, but we saw what happened in that playoff game. It's nowhere near that. Like, it's nowhere near. I mean, you could put, like, if you've got a loaded roster with just a bunch of juggernauts, really all you need is a game manager. Hey, look, just don't mess it up. And that's all that Howard had to do. And he's out here talking about, those clowns. Dog, you suck. Like, I'm just going to tell you, he sucks. So he got some nerve, bro. Like, you got a whole lot of nerve. I could probably point to about at least 30 quarterbacks, 30 quarterbacks that could have won the national championship with that team. And shoot, I could point to probably 15, 20 of them that wouldn't have lost the game, but the game wouldn't have even been close. You know what I mean? So he pissed me off with that. But yeah, Tennessee's roster isn't that deep. It's not that loaded. So I think that while there is some truth that you want a game manager, I just don't know that I just don't know that we could look at some of these juggernaut rosters and say, man, they did it, so we can do it too. Let me see. I apologize, man. I got lost. Okay, so here we go. Right here. So from Rick is saying that the little film that I saw, he was not impressive. Yeah, so this right here, this is just maybe showing you, hopefully, a little bit more. Maybe this is enough where you can see his skill set, right? Like, I don't always just look at necessarily, hey, this is what their numbers were. I don't always look at that. Obviously, you got to look at it some. You got to look and see where they're throwing a whole bunch of picks. That's pretty big. But you also have to watch the film and see how were they throwing those interceptions. And with a guy like this, I think his skill set is high enough that if we can minimize turnovers, then we should be. I think that he could definitely put us in a really, really good spot. So this right here is from Super High Fire saying that he feels like Heupel worries about high school, and building players up too much. Okay. Well, I think that you still have to build your team from the high school ranks. That's just me personally. You don't want to live inside of the portal. Like, you could look at a team like Colorado. They live inside the portal. They've had some success with it, but, they're having to start to go out and get some high school players. Ole Miss has done a pretty good job of going to the transfer portal, but even Lane Kiffin wants to go out and get high school players. I think he's just kind of doing what he has to do. Tennessee shouldn't have to do that, but the best teams, they're getting most of their talent from the high school ranks, and then they just supplement with the portal. See what I'm saying? This right here is from David Speaks. He's saying that would Brown come to Tennessee with Heupel's relationship with Golish? I think that he would. I think that a lot of this stuff is about business. You know what I mean? I think that it's a business situation for all parties. That's the way they should be looking at it. So this right here is from Pete saying that he would love to get Brown seamless transition and he can run. Okay. Yeah, man. So I do like the gunslingers some. I most definitely do. It's something about the gunslingers that I love. Let me get back. This one is from Matthew. He's saying that no way that Heupel would screw up a college. He's too principled to do that. Well, you also have to ask yourself this. Heupel, I'm sure, understands this. At some point, the principles, all that stuff is great. Having good principles, that's such that I take my hat off to those types of people. But this is big boy college football. The fans ain't going to care about those principles. The fans only care about winning and losing. Now, we'll care about it when it's the offseason, but as soon as we're getting beat by, we go back to getting drugged by Alabama, getting drugged by UGA, getting drugged by Florida. The fans ain't going to care about principles. The fans are going to care about why didn't you give us the best opportunity to win all these games or to at least be close in these games. That's the ultimate thing. And that's kind of what I pointed to with Urban Meyer's comments. Yeah, Urban Meyer is a dadgum sleazeball, but you know what else Urban Meyer is? A multiple time national champion. A lot of those coaches, I mean, shoot, I'm going to tell you something. Saban, like people think that Saban's this squeaky clean guy. He ain't no squeaky clean guy. I mean, Alabama's been cheating since they started, and Saban didn't stop it. Saban just found a way to not get caught doing it. I mean, he's one of the biggest cheaters, and I mean, I don't want to say too much, but I'm just saying, like, you got to do something, bro. Like, you have to kind of be all in to win. Now, don't go as far as Urban Meyer didn't have murderers on your team. You don't want to do that, but yeah, I mean, you got to kind of them principles is gonna have to go. Like this is crunch time, bro. I don't want no more principle. If we lose any more starting caliber players to this team based off of some principle stuff, again, if those players that we let go, if they didn't hurt anybody, that's gonna be a major problem for me. That's gonna be a real big problem because we don't have time for that, dog. Like we trying to win games. We also have to do a much better job of hiding stuff. I have no idea, like some of this stuff. Really, if you look at the whole NACO's situation, I've been wondering what the situation have got where it got to if NACO's hadn't have leaked that stuff. And he said that he got his source was someone in Tennessee's program. And if I'm Coach Heupel, what I would do is I would go in, I would just throw out a bunch of just like random rumors. You know what I'm saying? I would say, hey, I'm gonna narrow this down. Who are the 3 or 4 people that I think maybe could have done this leaking information? And I'm gonna feed 3 to 4 people some false stuff and see what gets leaked out, and they're gone. They're gone right now because that's a big time problem. We got to stop leaking stuff. I don't want to know nothing about nothing with these players, really. Not until not if it's going to hurt us. I don't. I just want to go win, man. Like that's where I want to go win a championship, and you got to do stuff like that if you really want to win. That's just what it is. You ain't going to do it living off principles and being squeaky clean. Nobody's doing that. So from OBRDY saying that what about that specialist from BYU? I don't know about the specialist. I'm gonna have to see who you're talking about there. Timestamp this. He's saying that Nico's numbers at UCLA will be 2,300 yards, 18 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 3 rushing touchdowns, with 8 turnovers, 10 fumbles. That's funny, man. I think I'm gonna tell you. I think Nico's gonna go over there and ball out. I really do. From Rod Johnson is saying Jalen Daniels from Kansas. So I can actually pull up his stuff because I've got it in here somewhere. So he's a guy that, I mean, he's got a pretty nice skill set, but he's just too small. He's 6 feet tall, about 190 pounds. That's just not, I just don't see that being realistic. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm talking about the guy from SMU. So he's 6 feet 220. I'm going to go ahead and pull his stuff up here. Okay. So 6 feet 220. I think that he's an okay player. He doesn't really move the needle for me. I think that he would help Tennessee out just as far as being like a veteran leader or something. But, that's about it as far as I'm concerned. So from VFL Willie is saying, I got to make it a little bit bigger. It's saying that ATP so he's saying that at this point, just get the best quarterback and let the best man win the competition. Yeah. I think that's pretty much what it's going to have to be, man. That's what it's boiling down to. Let me get to this. Hold on, because it keeps on throwing me around, y'all. So I apologize that it keeps doing that. I'm trying to get to as many of these as I possibly can. So this right here is from Papa T. It's going on saying that, Bull, what about Sawyer Robertson at Baylor? Is he still a possibility? I don't think that he is necessarily, but I love him too. He's a guy that I really like him. I think that he's not going to be the most mobile guy, but I love the way that the ball comes out of his hand. He's got a really live arm, and he can run. Like he's got some real wiggle to his game. So that would be one that I love him, and we'll actually pull him up here once we get done with this one. So this is from Super High Fire saying that what about – hold on one second. I got to make it bigger again. What about Dion Batiste? He's 6'5", 205 pounds, but he's a freshman. Could be an option just for depth. Now, is he a quarterback or is he a wide receiver? Because I don't know his name. So I would say that if he is a quarterback, which it doesn't sound like he is if he's 6'5", 205, and if you just flat out don't feel 100% confident with what we already have on this roster, then yeah, man, you just got to go get them. You just got to go get them, and you got to worry about what happens later on. You know, we're gonna have to do some more of that. And I love the fact that this seems like this staff is very honest, doesn't it? I mean, I love that. Um, you know, you just got to wonder, are we ever going to be, are we being honest to a fault? Is it hurting? Is it keeping us from winning at all? At all? So this one right here is from D saying that we don't need a world beater at quarterback. We've done well with Milton and Nico the last 2 years. We just need a game manager that won't turn the ball over, and we'll be fine. So yeah, I think that's a pretty interesting point. But so this is the thing. Whenever you talk about we don't need a world beater, I think that y'all mean from like just as far as the stats. Really, none of these players have outrageous stats. Really, you know what I mean? Like there's obviously guys that have better stats than others. And those players would be harder to get. But see, man, when I talk about world beaters, I'm talking about their skill set and their talent level. And I think that Nico and Joe, their arm talent is like way better than any of these quarterbacks that we're looking at. You know, it's way better. So that's why I do feel like the offensive play calling is gonna have to change. This right here is from Matthew saying that Jay. Okay, so he's talking about James Pierce, saying that he's not going second round. No way he gets past 20. I hope that you're right, bro. I really do. Charles is saying, do you think for a second Penn State? I'm not quite sure what you mean right there. And Vanny at home is a W. That I mean, it could be, but they also have Pavia coming back. Well, Pavia is going to be like a 6-year senior. Something else that I also want to kind of throw out there that we haven't talked about before. And I apologize. Let me pull this. I'm gonna pull this back up, and then we're going to get to Sawyer Robertson. Let me. I'm gonna take one of these out, but there is something that I saw. There's going to be a ruling on a case. Let me see what this case is called. What the name is here. It's ELAD, ELAD versus the NCAA. If y'all want to look that up, but they have a case right now where they're trying to get a 5th year for players that went to JUCO. So that's something else to look forward to. But they're saying that on the 26th, it's pretty likely that that's going to end up getting granted. It's pretty likely that it will be granted for at least this season. So that's something else that we're going to be looking into. Are there any players for Tennessee's basketball team, which I've kind of already looked at that? I don't think none of those guys that will be graduating this season play JUCO. But for Tennessee's football team, there probably are some. So, do we have any guys we can maybe bring back and add some depth from that perspective? Let me go ahead and pull up Sawyer Robertson. All right, we're going to get to him. And I'm going to show y'all what he looks like. He's definitely one of my favorite guys. I don't think that there's any realistic shot that we're going to get him, just to let you know. I don't want to, give y'all any false hope, but this is how he looks on film. So I'm going to get to some more of these. Okay, so this one right here is from David. So that's the next one. He's saying that, okay, so he thinks that Heupel will learn enough, that he will learn enough that you can't stack blue chip quarterbacks anymore. You either play them or go the one and done and transfer. Yeah, that could be true. We're actually, Heupel's one of the only coaches that's doing a good job of that. Yeah, you look at Texas. Texas is doing a good job there too. Really, it does kind of feel like with some of these bigger programs, or I guess with some of these maybe like better programs, it doesn't seem like that's as much of an issue. Now, if you look at the Buckeyes, might have had a few, I think that you had a couple of quarterbacks leave, and that was last year, but they had I think 3 5-star guys or something like that, like 2 or 3 5-star guys. I mean, they had 5 or 6 quarterbacks. They were all blue chips. So, yeah, I mean, in a situation like that, you can't really hold on to them. But, David, I do think that you are onto something with that. I think it's going to be more difficult moving forward to hold on to these big-name quarterbacks or, these highly rated quarterbacks just because they're worth so much money. So, from D, is saying that he doesn't expect us to improve in 2024 if we get Merck or GMAC. Okay. 2026 will be the year that we can make a run. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a pretty, I don't think that you're wrong. I don't think that you're wrong. So from Cody Blaylock is saying, why not Joey? Obviously hasn't played the competition of the SEC, but has been able to sling it everywhere that he's been. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that he's just looking at all the options that we have right now. I think that he's a pretty good one. And this right here is saying that I think that we have a chance at that kick return specialist. From a lot of people talking about him. So if he's just a kick return specialist, I don't know. I think that If Tennessee can find their quarterback, we can fill everything else, then yeah, if he's just like a gadget piece that you want to add, then yeah. But Tennessee's got some good players already that are specialists. I mean, you look at Morris. He's a guy that we think is going to do a lot of good things on as a specialist. Looking at Boo, he's a guy that offense, defense, special teams. He's probably going to need a break. So I don't know what his size is or what, but Tennessee likes for the guys on kickoff to be a little bit bigger, kind of like running back bodies. So those are the guys, if he's close to 200 pounds, maybe he could do that for us. But either way, I'm about to check him out. So this one is saying the Bull, we're the most hated program. They're gonna tell anything we do. Yeah, man, it does feel like we're pretty hated. So we'll see. I'm just for me, I'm talking more about the people that's close to our own program. Like, don't spill the beans for us. We don't need for y'all to be making headlines right now. Like, we're trying to go win. So if something happens that we don't need to know about, please don't let us know. Like, we'd rather just not even know, so we can act like everything's perfectly fine and we can go into the season with the strongest roster possible. We got to start doing a little bit more of that. And David is saying that that if we can get Brown, then get it done. Yeah, for sure. And Phil's a new person, or you're new today, saying that you heard that King said if Tennessee drops the bag, that he'd be in K-Town in a heartbeat. So we should have the extra money. I don't know I don't know exactly what that looks like. It sounded like we were going to be spending $12 million. You got to take it with the grain of salt. We have no idea what's true about that. I'm going to skip down some. I'm going to get to Corey. So Corey is saying that no need to upset the locker room. Again, ride with Merklinger and George and get an emergency guy at quarterback. The locker room should be galvanized by letting Nico walk. Yeah, and so this is something else that I've seen kind of thrown around that, just like anything else, that type of stuff, and I most definitely get it. Like, I feel what you're saying. And, I think that it'll be helpful for this team. But some of that stuff, like rah-rah stuff, it really only goes so far. You know what I mean? And we talk about these players. We say, well, they're pretty much pros now. So, they're asking, can we criticize them? And I know that it's not going to be everyone that we're talking that's watching today, but some people do it. They say, hey, we would love to be able to criticize these guys because now, they're basically pros. Well, if they're pros, then I mean, you can't be worried about who's getting paid what. You can't be worried about bringing in this player, bringing in that player, because we're paying you to play. So are they pros or are they not pros? Now, I still kind of feel like, obviously they're not really pros, but they are getting paid. So there is an expectation that comes with that. For me, the expectation should be, look, y'all's job is to play. Our job, and I'm saying like if I'm Hyper or if I'm one of the coaches, our job is to coach. It's to put together the best roster that we possibly can to put y'all in the best situation for us to go win a national championship. That's our job every single day. So if that means that, hey, we don't feel like this is good enough, we got to go get somebody else. See what I'm saying? And I absolutely love that sentiment because that's what a good-hearted person would say. That's coming from a really good place. The problem is this is big-time sports. You can't always, if you really want to win, you're going to have to, P kind of talked about this. He said, you like the quarterbacks with a little bit of a-hole in them. You need to have a coach with some of that too. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to have a little bit of it. We have to win. So whatever that takes at this point, we can't be playing around no more. No more of that. If people want to leave, then, hate it. But look, people need to understand what time it is here. We want to do the right things, but we also want to win. You just got to you have to figure out what that balance is. And let me get to this one right here from Cody. It's saying absolutely okay. So I just doubt that was said. I would think Tennessee would have already had him enrolled if that was the case. I love that. Okay, so I think that's. I don't know if you was talking about Rice or what, but yeah, I would love to have Rodney Rice too. For Matthew, was saying the scheme needs to be more diverse. Doesn't matter the quarterback we bring in if the defense, if the defense know the plays. Okay, the 6 plays that we run too well. Yeah. Those are big facts, especially it's a lot easier to run an offense like that where, hey, we only run a few plays if it's not, and I hate to say it this way, if it's not as gimmicky as what Tennessee's offense is, because spreading that field out so wide, it's just like you can't really keep them honest, because even if they know if there's normal splits, right? Even if they know, hey, this is what they like to run. But if the wide receiver on the outside can still break to the outside, they've got to at least respect that. Like, there's still a thought there. But if they're on the line of scrimmage, then they know, well, they're not going to the sideline because they're going to be out of bounds. I can turn my back to the sideline, put my heels on the sideline. and I'm just going to play everything inside from there because I'm not going to be too far outside of this wide receiver. See what I'm saying? Obviously, I don't think that you would play it that way, but the whole point is, yeah, it's easier to do it with more like pro style types of offenses, you know. But yeah, that's I think that is so true. And actually, I'm gonna pull up some more of these clips, man. I want to pull up. Who else should we look at? You know what? Let's go back to Luke because I know a lot of people want to see Luke. So let me get to Dry FTWX saying that hey, what's going on, bro? Saying that any insight on Rodney Rice seems like he is all Nova. Hopefully there is still a chance. Yeah, that's just I'm on the same page with you. That's the same things that I've been hearing. I haven't heard anything really counter to that. I've seen and heard some things that might have came out this morning saying that USC is trying to pay Rodney Rice like $3.5 million. I don't know how true that is, but I will just say that that's something that I've heard. So we'll see, man. Obviously, if he is a guy that Tennessee really wants, and we will go get him. We still have to add some more guards. And this one is saying that there's a lot of talk about Altmire right now, but I don't see anyone that's actually credible talking about it. Yeah, I don't either, honestly. I don't either, but I don't think that you're gonna really. I don't think that we'll hear anyone credible say anything about quarterbacks unless until they actually hit that transfer portal. Like I think that right now would be a pretty good time since there's some more quarterbacks that's kind of entered in to see what do the insiders have to say about that, because that could give us some pretty good insight off of some of the things that they said previously without throwing out names, right? Because they won't throw out those names because that would get Tennessee, that would put Tennessee in a very bad spot as far as tampering goes. Even though no one gets in trouble for tampering, you still just don't want to even try it. But yeah, now I think that some more information should start to come out. So hopefully Altmire is going to be one of the guys. So from Samuel Reiner is saying that why can't we? Yeah, everyone's always asking this. Yeah, how are we going to beat Georgia or the Buckeyes if we keep? Okay. Yeah, I think that we're doing a pretty solid job. You also have to understand what Coach Heupel came into. He came into a really bad situation. I know we've talked about that. This is year 5 now. I felt like the 2026 class had a chance to be potentially number 1. I felt very good that it was going to be top 3. We did miss out on some players. I have no idea why. Like Tristan Keys, I don't know how we let that happen. I mean, yeah, he's a lot closer to home going to LSU, but I don't know what that that was from. I think he was from Charlotte. That we ended up losing out on. They wanted to be like James Pierce. How the hell did we lose out on that? So yeah, we're gonna have to. I mean, you're not gonna hit on everybody, but yeah, I would love to see us be more consistently in that close to top 5 range. You know what I mean? And all these guys aren't. Some of them will be a little bit overrated, which that's part of the reason that we even started this whole channel was to go in and talk about breakdown players that Tennessee gets. I think Faison Brandon actually took a bump down with his rating somewhere. It seems like it always happens. The players that come to Tennessee, they want to drop them in those rankings. So this right here is from Samuel also saying, okay, I'm sorry, we just got to that one. All right. Let me see. And this question here is saying, and why does anyone care if Merck chooses to leave? GMAC will be better than him a year from now, and as long as Faison stays committed. Yeah, I mean, I just think that, I mean, obviously, I don't want anyone to leave. I don't personally. I would like to hold on to all of them because obviously, if you lose any of your backup, if you lose any of those young quarterbacks that we have right now, then we're right back to square one, right? Like we add a guy, then we lose a guy. We still only have 2. That's not enough. So you do have to walk a fine line. So you have to be very careful. But I mean, I don't know. It's such a tough situation. I'm gonna pull Steve. I'm gonna pull Steve back up because I know some people might want to look at him. And this one. All right, so saying that David Stone, defensive line from Oklahoma, entered the portal. So yeah, he entered, then he went back, but that's SEC to SEC, so we couldn't get him anyway. But I would love to go get him 100%. I love David Stone. If you think back to the Polynesian Bowl in 2023, was I think that he was like I think he was the player of the game on defense. Nico was the player of the game on offense, but yeah, he's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. Okay, let's see if we can get to some more of these. So this right here is from Charles. Is asking, do I think for a second that Abdul Carter is better than James Pierce? If they sleep on Pierce like that, he will end up with the Eagles. Yeah, man. I don't personally, and this is I'm not being a homer when I say this. I think that they're very similar, but I like James Pierce better. And the reason for it is James Pierce has been more consistent over a longer period of time. And I think that he looks better in pass coverage. Now, I have seen one play. I mean, obviously, James Pierce isn't great in pass coverage, but I think that he might look a little bit better than Abdul Carter does. But I did see one play that they've kind of shown with Abdul Carter covering a tight end or something coming out of the backfield. He looked pretty good there. I don't remember who the tight end was, but I don't think he was some, like world beaten sprinter, you know what I'm saying? So obviously Abdul is going to be going first. I mean, he's going to be the first probably player taken on defense, period. So, okay, I'm sorry about that. That thing stopped. I hope it wasn't stopped this whole time. Let me get to this one. But yeah, I'm hoping that James Pierce does go in the first round. So Corey is saying that Merck Leaving right now would be a backbreaker. Yeah. He was a 4-year starter in high school in Georgia. The dude is a gamer. You folks don't know ball if you think that Merck Leaving is not more than qualified. Yeah, listen, I think that Merck is good for sure. I'm sorry, this thing is still paused. Yeah, so Mark, and I'm gonna bring this back up so people know what I'm talking about. But yeah, no, listen, I know that Mark can most definitely ball. I'm not saying that. That's not what I'm saying by any means. I think that Mark has a really nice skill set. The biggest question is, will Mark be ready this year? That's kind of why I've also thrown out that maybe potentially the best situation could be to go out and get a Gaston Moore just to be our backup where there's no real quarterback competition, maybe just a little bit. It's kind of like the optics kind of say, hey, there could be some competition just to kind of keep everybody sharp, just to keep everybody happy. But yeah, I would feel okay with that. I'm just not sure how they're going to look because we haven't seen them play that much. I just don't know if they're going to be able to rise up to some of these situations. But yeah, Mark is a really good quarterback. He's going to be a very good quarterback at some point. I can tell you that for sure. And my dog, JPat86, GBO, FUGA, you already know. All right, so we're going to get through. Let me get to this one right here from my dog, T and Jr., saying that I hate the spot to win. I do too, man. I almost definitely do. Players come, players go. That's a fact. All right, so I think that's going to be it, man. I think that's going to be it for at least for this stream, but we will be probably coming back to you just because I do feel like Tennessee's going to get some news today. I think it's time. We got to get some news about a quarterback today. There's one. We should have some more news about how serious is Tennessee with that situation. I would have to anticipate that some visits and things might start to get set up with Joey. So we'll see, man. But it's most definitely crunch time. So thank you so much. If you're watching this on that rewatch, please do leave your thoughts down in the comment section. And as always, please do make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. We'll see y'all on the next one. Thanks. Peace.